Should you buy the HX Stomp XL? Is it overpriced? Can it replace your entire pedal board? How does it stack up to other modelers like the Axe-Fx and the Kemper? Is the HX Stomp XL worth it in 2023? These are the questions that I'm going to try to answer today when we're talking about the Line 6 HX Stomp XL. Now, the XL version has been out for about 2 years now, with the regular HX Stomp being out for almost 5 years. Luckily, Line 6 has been updating the firmware continuously over the last couple of years and actually put out a really good one earlier this year. So let's talk about if the Line 6 HX Stomp XL is worth buying in 2023 and if it can live up to the hype of being an all-in-one platform. Let's get into it. And going forward, because saying the word HX Stomp XL is quite a bit of a mouthful, just know that I'm just going to say HX Stomp, but I am referring to the XL 8-button version. So who is the HX Stomp for? So the first person who I think it's good for is someone who's looking for an all-in-one solution. Now, what I like about this is, unlike something like the Axe-Fx or like the normal Kemper, whether it's the rack-mounted version or the toaster you put on top, is this is also a pedal board. It's a floorboard. You can put it at the ground of your feet, and it's your amps here, and it's your effects here, and you only really need to bring one thing. If you're going like direct into front of house or like into your monitors, right? So like if you have a silent stage, all you need is this and your guitar and you are golden. If you're somebody who's just now getting into effects, maybe you have like a tuner and like a wah pedal or something like that, and you have like a basic practice amp or something like that, but you're looking to get into overdrives or fuzzes or different modulations, that kind of thing, but you're not really sure where to start. Something like the Line 6 HX Stomp is a great starting point. Not only does it have a bunch of different effects for you to try, but it also has a lot of different models based off of real world effects pedals. The HX Stomp is also really good for those who are interested in starting recording at home. The really cool thing about the HX Stomp is it has a USB out that you can directly record to your audio interface. Nothing needed other than this device and a USB cord. No need for mic pre's, no need for audio interfaces, any of that stuff. If you want to start recording your own songs or even riffs at home, this is a perfect solution to get started recording at home. If you're a music student or even somebody who's living in an apartment where you can't have a cranked amp that sounds good, this is a great way to get those cranked Marshall heavy distortion tones at home at low watt volumes. Another really cool thing is it has a headphone output. So like if you have roommates and you want to practice, but you want to practice like with some actual cool sounds that are loud and nasty, put some headphones in, plug your guitar in, and your roommates won't know if you're practicing or not. They won't realize that you're playing heavy 80s metal bangers at stadium level volume with some like crazy delays going. All they'll hear is like the dinky little pluck strings of your pick hitting the strings. It's fantastic. It's fantastic if you're like in a dorm room or if you're in an apartment or even if you want to practice while your wife watches like QVC or something like that. I don't know. It's amazing. It's so cool. I would argue that somebody who wants to run multiple amps at the same time with multiple delays and multiple reverbs. The amp and the cab models take up a lot of CPU space as well as the delays and the reverb. So if you're somebody who wants to run like a clean and maybe like a dirty Marshall sound at the same time or a clean Fender sound and a Vox at the same time and then have like ambient delays and all sorts of stuff, this might not have enough CPU for you. And then I would say those who are tube amp snobs, and those are probably the people who are down in the comments saying, doesn't sound like a real amp. It's not for you, okay? So let's talk about the price. Is the Line 6 HX Stomp overpriced? I would say yes and no. If you're only using the HX Stomp for the reverbs and delays, I would say it's definitely overpriced. Coming in at $700 for the HX Stomp with the 3 buttons and $50 more with the XL, it's quite a large pill to swallow, especially if you're only going to use a handful of effects. But even compared to other similar sounding amp modelers such as the Fractal or the Kemper or even Line 6's larger Helix, you're getting a lot of money's worth in such a small box. I mean, if you compare the 3-stomp version of the HX Stomp to like the Fractal's FM3, which is a very similar and direct comparison, it's almost half the price. And if you're comparing the HX Stomp XL to the Fractal FM9, you're saving $1,000 right there just on a very similar floor mount amp modeling system. And quite frankly, between the HX Stomp and the HX Stomp XL, 50 extra bucks to get 5 more switches is well worth that investment, coming in at $10 per switch. And look, I get it, $700 is quite a mouth-watering price tag, but looking at Reverb right now, I see some of them starting at $420. So $420, it's almost half off, not close to half off, maybe 40% off. That's a pretty good deal for what you're gonna get here in this little box. And if you're only gonna use this as the pedal board, you're gonna run into something like a Blues Junior or like another tube amp, I still think having all your pedals, especially with today's pedal market being everything at least over $150, or at least $150 is probably what you wanna spend anyways, this is an incredible deal to replace your entire pedal board or your entire one and done solution coming in at less than $1,000. So can this replace your entire pedal board? 100% absolutely. I haven't had a true pedal board since I bought the Fractal Axe-Fx 2 XL in 2017. Granted, I bought the FMC 101 MIDI controller to go with it, but I haven't had an actual pedal board system in almost 7 years. Now, this past Saturday, I played my first 2-hour gig with my new band, Morgan and the Missed Opportunities, and I only used this and that Fender Blues Junior over there. And I will say, first off the bat, I was a little nervous because I didn't bring anything back up to play this gig with. If this thing had gone down, I was screwed. I was playing in front of the amp, which normally is fine, especially if you're playing something like country with a bunch of cleans, but I do a lot of like swirly stuff, a lot of ambient stuff. And if that went down, none of that would be existing on this gig. And to make things even worse, it was like 97 degrees here in the Washington, D.C. area, and the sun was just baking me and my guitar and my pedal board, and I was worried that maybe this thing might even overheat. But I'm happy to say after 2 hours of playing in the sun on Saturday afternoon, this thing held up tremendously. Now, how does it sound compared to something like the Fractal Axe-Fx? Well, here is a clean Fender Twin sound. Here's kind of a more cranked Marshall sound. And for you heavier guys, here's something like a 5150 for like kind of a metal tone. In my opinion, it sounds really close, but if you mess with the parameters, you can get the EQ sounding very comparable. And granted, this is the Axe-Fx 2 XL Plus or whatever. There is new technology with the Axe-Fx 3. I don't have my hands on that, so I can't do a one-on-one comparison to that, but to the XL, the 2 XL, I think it sounds great. I personally think the Line 6 HX Stomp stacks up and even in some cases sounds better than the Fractal Axe-Fx 2. Is the Line 6 HX Stomp XL worth it in 2023? Absolutely. This thing's only been out for 2 years, but the Line 6 technology has been out for about 6 years, maybe closer to 5 years, but it is still absolutely worth it. If you're looking for an all-in-one platform amp modeling solution, if you're looking for something to replace your pedal board, or maybe you're just a guitar tube amp guy who's looking to get into digitally modeling for the first time, I highly recommend checking out the Line 6 HX Stomp. I'm gonna put up another video over here. Check it out. It's one YouTube thinks that you're gonna like best, and I will see you over there. And until then, let the music play. QVC, HGTV, that's probably more of the demographics, not QVC.